Hello, I'm Dr. Garrett Castleberry, Professor of Media Production and Communication at Mid-America Christian University. Well, folks, I want to invite you all to COMM1103, Fundamentals of Public Speaking. This is the core course of our communication discipline and the COMM program at MACU. All students fulfilling a traditional four-year undergraduate degree are going to be enrolled in public speaking at some point. And guess what? Odds are, if you're in another university, you will be also required to take a version of public speaking or introduction to communication, public communication, things like that. And it holds a role both in a COMM degree or COMM program, but more often it's associated with a general education. It's a general ed course, meaning it's part of the curriculum that's spotlighted to say, we understand that students completing college should be able to demonstrate skills in this important area, among other areas, right? And public speaking is one of those. Well, guess what? Public speaking is also something a lot of people shy away from, run away from, fear, despise. Unpack the laundry list of qualifiers here that would paint public speaking in a negative light. There are many, and it isn't because public speaking it represents those descriptives, and it isn't because it's quote bad, and it isn't because you are bad at it, but it has a great deal to do with a commonly shared belief that it is something only for the elite skilled folk of the world to practice, and the rest of us would just rather be sitting in. There's a reason you enter an auditorium and the stage, while present, is smaller than the number of chairs that occupy the auditorium, right? In the audience, we would rather be sitting and watching rather than partaking. But the time has come. Here we are. We've got nothing else to do with this time than to practice public speaking, and so we shall. I will be your course instructor, and I would just like to preface by saying this course can be offered in a couple of different formats at MACU. And now there's the traditional full semester classroom experience in a fall or spring that students on campus can take. Yes, and that's the way it's taught universally in so many places. However, we're in the 21st century, and more colleges and universities are adopting online curriculum, and more of them are buying into accelerated online curriculum. And so this course meets those objectives. We'll be meeting for an accelerated course cycle, and you'll have an opportunity to, depending on the course layout and your enrollment pattern, present in person. Yes, there's an on-ground element to this course. Or if you're exclusively enrolled online, you'd be completing these as a produced recording that you would then submit. And you can submit through, ideally, you're recording a video, uploading it to, say, YouTube, and then embedding your link, your hyperlink to that video file rather than a full video file. Some people still go the video file length, although there's problems with that. That's a lot of file storage to upload, download. That can make it hard to access by smartphones and other formats, right? So the more old-fashioned we are with how we record and present our works, the more complicated it can be. It can stall even the feedback loop process, and we want to get quick, efficient feedback on our projects. Well, when we have students that are both intentionally designated for in-person, on-ground courses, paired with students that may be occupying an online class, we call this scenario parent-child, a parent-child course. And so our public speaking class, this course cycle, is in fact a parent-child situation. That means some of us will be meeting every Tuesday evening, with one exception, to convene for class together from approximately 6 to 9 p.m. And that will be for the duration of the 5 weeks. However, we have paired this group of students with a small group who are designated as online students. And you have every freedom to complete this course asynchronously, meaning in your own distinct points in time, so long as you're also adhering to the very important weekly deadlines that the course has set aside for you for the modules in D2L and so on. However, here's where parent-child courses can be an exceptional experience, and I invite you all to consider, if you're online only, I invite you to consider the following option. If we have students interested in joining in live via Zoom to our public speaking class on Tuesday nights, we will give space not only for you to be able to participate through observation, your peers, their presentations, any kinds of workshops or micro lectures run during the course hours, but that will also count as discussion time for the class. And so if you'll look closely in your Canvas layout, we have multiple discussions set aside each week. And so if you are able to join us live, if you're willing to commit to that, at least commit as many times as you can, sitting in our live Zoom sessions will take the place of you having to complete those plural weekly written discussions, which also includes, and this is required, peer feedback. We're supposed to be giving each other multiple peers, multiple forms of feedback per peer in any given week. And so there is that seat time labor that's expected. Well, we organically will have a lot of that discussion and exploration of themes in the live setting. Now, that doesn't fit everyone's possible schedule. We have folks at work. We may have people that work evenings. We may have folks with families, extended families, complicated, internet and limited internet access, or, in addition to skewing work schedules, maybe it intercedes with like bedtime routines or what have you. Well, that's why the online class exists. The whole course is built as a shell to be facilitated asynchronously. But because we're pairing or partnering it with a course that is running on ground, if you are available, or if it is purely optional, it is not required, but if you want to opt in to joining our live feed, I need to know, so we will run that Zoom feed every week. However, if we don't have anyone on the Zoom feed, we will end it. It will not be rebroadcast. That will be unnecessary. We'll keep that contained to the classroom experience. By the way, all of this would be closed circuit access, right? The Zoom feed is private. No one else is getting in from the outside. And any rebroadcasts of the Zoom feed are entirely closed circuit from the Zoom. Sometimes I'll take a Zoom and maybe edit down, like shave down the busy or messy front or back end of a Zoom feed. And then I'll put that into an unlisted status temporarily on my YouTube channel. And unlisted means no one can access the video by searching or seeking it out, or by subscribing to my channel. You can't find the video unless I send you a link. And the only place I would be putting a link is in our announcements feed in the course shell. And so all of this has expirational dates on it. Our experience is private and would stay that way. However, I can't make the video private, because to make it private, none of you could ever access it. It would be just sitting there, hidden. And that would be pointless as an educational experience. But we want to encourage you all. This class is not going to be about be we're not out to get anyone. We're not out to embarrass anyone. There will be no shaming. This is a supportive climate. We're going to be constructive in our feedback, and that means we want to see people grow and grow healthily. That's my job. I'll talk a lot more about that in the opening night together. And I'll say this, for those joining us live, your deadlines are slightly different than the online only student, right? You all have very strict week to week deadlines you have to hit. But for us on ground, because we're starting without previous knowledge, we can't begin the full speeches until week 2. And so we're going to be a little bit staggered from the online course shell, but not much. And there may be some exemptions or exceptions for those joining live or coming in person. Let me also say this. If you happen to live near MacU, drivable distance, if you're in our metro area or a really close surrounding suburb, and you are enrolled in online only status, but you say to yourself, well, I just did that because they just enrolled me in that. I didn't know there was an on-ground course offered. And you would like to drive in and experience class with us. I want to invite you to do so, and I want to encourage you to do so. I think it could be a really healthy experience. We're going to be meeting in Kennedy Hall on the main floor, the floor you enter the building in on, about halfway down the hallway. And there should be each and every week a receptionist at the desk to help point out and get us to where we need to go. But it's a small, quaint campus, very safe. You're going to find where you need to be, and we're going to have a good time. We're going to go through these materials together. I'm going to say this, it's not an enormous group. This is a relatively small group. Feel empowered by that. Feel relieved by that. I think you should. I think you most do. And that's where it is exciting, because it gives us space to approach this in more of a workshopping environment as opposed to a heavy pressure situation where we're pushing through speech after speech with very limited time. And that can add some strain, sometimes in a good way. Sometimes it forces us to put our best work out there. But we're gonna have a fun time together regardless. And if you join us in person, one way or the other, we will audible at least one of our speeches, kind of simplify and move some things around. In fact, I'll go ahead and say, if you're in person or on ground with us, we're probably going to lift the persuasive speech, which online students will find in week 3. We're going to move it closer to the end of the class. So we're going to kind of retool things just a little bit. I'll talk about all that tomorrow, and you can be looking for a Zoom link in the Canvas announcements feed. But I don't want anyone to be confused by the fact that we do have a parent-child situation in the course where some of you all are designated to join us in person. We really need you there every week. It's only 5 meetings. And then that is so few. I'd say there are places that offer 8-week classes on ground. And when they offer the 8-week classes on ground, those 8 weeks you meet twice a week, 2 nights a week. We're really going heavy into a workshop style mode that's tailored to suit the needs of a smaller classroom size. That's you all, but we'll want you to be committed to being there those 5 times. And don't worry about being late. You get trapped in traffic, that happens sometimes. I don't care. Get here. Being here half the time or 2/3 of the time or 3/4 of the class period is more important than having missed an entire week. Missing an entire week is missing 20% of our experience together. That is an enormous percentage. Now there's options for making that work up. I think you could guess what it is. It's right there online, already built. But we want you, if you're enrolled in person, the expectation is you're in person. If you're online and either can do Zoom, or even if you want to drive in, I've had students do this before, and they loved what they got out of switching that up. maybe that even opens the door for you to consider future in-person 1 night a week classes at MacU. How exciting is that? Looking forward to having you all in class this month. It's going to be hot, right? There may be some perspiration, but hopefully there'll be some inspiration and some individual growth in COMM 1103, Fundamentals of Public Speaking. Thank you all for listening to this video introduction, brief starter orientation, and there's much more to come as we congregate together on campus, in Kennedy Hall, and online on Canvas here at MacU.